and welcome to the Treehouse. This is Kag with the View from Above tarot reading for Saturday, October 12th. This morning, since it's Saturday, I thought we would do a 9+1 reading since we have not done one of those in quite some time, and see what energies are present, what the challenges, and what the wisdom or the advice would be for today. So this is a collective reading, so take what resonates for you and leave the rest. I did do a deep shuffle before I started the video, so we're ready to lay this right out this morning. So this is the energy of the present. This is the challenge or what needs to be integrated. And this is the wisdom or the advice for today. And our Merriweather card at the bottom. I'm going to do this a little different today. I'm going to read up the center, the core message, before we look at the clarifiers. So here's what's present for us this morning. And it is the Nine of Swords. The Nine of Swords is a card of worry and anxiety. And perhaps there's something on our minds this morning that is causing us some consternation, whatever that might be. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a big thing, but it could be. And it might be something that is real or something that is just a nagging thing, but we'll see what the cards have to say about that. But usually when we have the Nine of Swords, it is about the middle of the night kind of anxiety. And what solves that problem is to get up and do something. This is the response to the 9 and 10 of Swords. Sometimes it has to be a physical response rather than just continuing to think about it. That would be true for the 8 of Swords as well. But this is being stuck in a thinking pattern that is doing us no good, and we need to get out of bed and go do something different, whether it's knitting or reading a book or whatever. So some kind of physical activity may be required for whatever it is that's kind of bugging us this morning. What needs to be integrated is the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is somebody who's really enthusiastic about the clarity and the truth that he now knows. He has a tendency to be a little scattered and a little out of control with that sword that he is wielding. He feels somewhat vulnerable, so vulnerable in that he doesn't like to reveal much about himself, is really much more interested in asking other people about themselves, turning a conversation to the other person rather than being more revelatory of his own concerns. And so with 2 swords here already, this is something either that needs to be said, or you want to say, or you're worrying about saying it, or something you already said, right? But this is some kind of a communication, and it would appear that it has something to do with the concerns or the worries that are present for us this morning. The wisdom is also a sword. So wow, that's a lot of swords. And that is the 7 of Swords. And the 7 of Swords is the card of there's some deceit here, or some kind of a lie, or a risk that needs to be taken. So this is probably one of the most confusing cards. The 7 of Swords is probably one of the most confusing cards in the whole tarot deck, and even more confusing, I think, than the Tower or the Death card. Those feel very straightforward to me, but the 7 card is really, it actually is a metaphor for itself. It's just a really confusing card. So we'll wait till we get up to the rest of the wisdom and see what is involved here. But what we've got are it's a lot of thinking. There's a lot of mental energy going here. There's worry, there's distraction. Look at all of those birds up there, and there's something that is really unsettling up here in our wisdom area. So let's look at this 9 of Swords. What is that about? And we are looking at the King of Pentacles and the 4 of Cups. So the King of Pentacles is the fellow who has all of the resources. He's got charge of all of the resources. You can see that he's got plenty here. His harvest has come in. He's practically drowning in all of the resources that he has charge over. And it would look over here with our Four of Cups that there's some kind of a disappointment from the way that our fellow under the tree is folded up about. He doesn't seem to see this cup that's being offered from the holy. He's looking at these 3 cups and not looking too happy about it. So something has come in that has been harvested that didn't quite meet expectations. And there's either some worry about it or some middle of the night thinking about should I have done this differently? It just didn't turn out the way that we hoped that it would. So that would appear to be what's going on here. It certainly was a success of some sort, but it did not quite meet the expectations, and that is what the anxiety might be about this morning. So we're looking at some kind of a communication here about truth and clarity, and maybe some kind of defense vulnerability here. So let's see what we have for clarifiers. And the communication seems to be one of happiness. So this is what needs to be integrated. There's some happiness here. There's also something that is coming in that hasn't quite made it to ground yet, but it is lined up. So that's somewhat confusing. There may be some joy about what has happened, even though it has not met expectation. And perhaps you've got some kind of a celebration going on, or there is something to be happy about, but there is some kind of a wrinkle in all of this that is speaking to us of wishing it had been somewhat different. So the integration is, it's happening now. It is a joyful occasion, and perhaps it is best to not speak out that truth. Whatever the disappointment is here, maybe it doesn't need to be shared. Maybe what we need to do here is to integrate the happiness of what's going on here, even though it didn't quite meet expectations, but still be happy about that. So what is the wisdom about trying to be happy in the midst of this disappointment? Well, there's a risk here, isn't there? And there's an emperor, and there's a happily ever after card. So the swords being the clarity, the mental clarity and the logic is really important to this moment. And maybe this is a personal kind of a thing. This is you yourself in the company of other people. Maybe you are disappointed in the midst of this happier occasion, because look up here, we've got the reasonably happily ever after. We've also got the emperor, and the emperor is the structure against which we have no power. So I think that this is out of our hands. That is what this card is about. There's something that's out of our hands here, and we are really being called to set aside any kind of disappointment, any kind of deceit, or saying something that would be hurtful in this situation. There is something really happy here, and there is also an outside structure against which we can do nothing. And so the tendency would be, especially with this disappointment card here, to want to say something perhaps that would not be helpful. And that is the danger of the Page of Swords, is he wants to whack away with that sword, make some kind of underhanded comment that would maybe disturb whatever the happiness is here and the joy that needs to be integrated at this time. So this seems to be the tendency to want to say something, and there is no reason not to celebrate. We've got We've got the harvest here. We've got joy with other people. We've got the chance for reasonably happily ever after. Something that's coming in rather quickly. Yes, disappointment. Yes, outside structure we can do nothing about. And really some sad feelings about whatever this is. So we're going to leave Merriweather here at the bottom. And we're going to just shuffle quickly for a message from the page in our what needs to be integrated or challenge area. And our page is saying, be strong. And when I see the woman with her hands on the jaws of the lion, what that says to me is that curb the baser instincts that we have. Regardless of how we feel about what's going on, what do we think about what's going on here, perhaps it's best to say nothing, to curb the beast inside and respond to the happiness that's surrounding us in spite of the fact that we feel disappointed and sort of disgruntled about what is going on. The Merriweather card is giving us the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups is the card of our past life. It is the joy of the inner child. It is the trauma of growing up. It is really thinking about what is it that we know from our past that can be brought to bear on what this situation is. Perhaps we have spoken out of turn in the past or made our unhappiness known to others in the midst of a happy occasion, and it hasn't gone well. So there's some wisdom from the past here that we can bring to bear on this situation. And we know now much more than we knew when we were a littler person. And perhaps that wisdom is about how much to say and how much not to say at this whatever it is that's happening today. Also of note is that we have all of the energies present. We've also got the 6, the 7, the 8, the 9, and the 10. We've also got the 3 and the 4. So the ace through the 5 is the first pass through something. The 6 through the 10 is the second pass. 5 is, the 5 cards are the cards of change. And so 6 is a starting over card. So we learned something in the first 5 cards, and then we have an opportunity to tweak it and finish it to its conclusion in the second half of the minor arcana. So when I look at 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, we have the conclusion of that second half. So whatever the disappointment is here, we can learn from that and move forward with some reasonable expectation of success if we follow our inner wisdom about what to say and what not to say. We'll be at a conclusion that looks like it will be the reasonably happily ever after that we all want. So that's what I have for us here at the Treehouse this morning. If this was helpful, and I hope that it was, please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope that you will come back again tomorrow for another View from Above tarot reading. And before I say blessings, I want to thank you for coming and spending your Saturday morning with me. Blessings.